Who are these people?
In these days of global disaster, all the money disappears with the fame. I'll say what I want and burn my masters. And I suggest you do the same. Hear my words, but don't breathe the air. You and I needn't speak to share. I'm so sick of the waiting now. I feel sick, so I'm laying down. Hear my words, but don't breathe the air. You and I needn't speak to share. I'm so sick of the waiting now. I feel sick, so I'm laying down. Alright, I won't name names, so he won't call legal. We'll call him Bo Jiden, and he killed Glass-Steagall. He's on the trail, off the rails, profits over people, but I won't call him a Nazi, cause I haven't seen his eagle. But I have seen his equal, and he just left the White House. I've seen his equal, and she lost the fight twice now. I've seen the evil in a man who'd shake the hands of workers, knowing they've been slaving for a feeble wage and little purpose to keep afloat his bloated lifestyle. All to keep us focused on our phones in the meanwhile. You see, if I'm a broken record, this has been a time trial. But I will not go quietly into the future I'm supposed to hand to my child. I will not politely hold my tongue when I see voters in the web of suppression. So I'm about to burn the list of things we shouldn't mention. Alzheimer's causes bouts of both confusion and aggression. Sentences that fall apart and paper-thin patience. Well, I have not spent the past 4 years practicing critiques only to need them for the next administration. And yeah, part of me would love to vote for Trump to really stuff you Biden diatribe junkies who would tie us to a chair to watch him push out Bernie Sanders, say he needs to just accept the loss and have your little celebration. Fuck, I don't know about you, but I got too much love for this misguided nation. So I can't take another president who treats the world like he's a wealthy tourist, just too good to talk to all us Haitians. My only choice should not have to be trading one president who chews the Achilles heel of race relations, plays up all our prejudices, fears, and darkest motivations, for one who also hands us over to the corporations like we've all been sex trafficked. And I wish that was exaggeration, but it's part nightmare, part fascination. It's mostly fascists saying we're a Christian generation, while they got the funding made to lift you out your station, while you miss your shift at your third job because you can't afford your medication. And now the pain of your mobility is tied into the need to keep afloat and keep your family just the side of devastation. And here's the catch to immunization. You might get to have a say in what they give your baby, but in 20 years your baby better be prepared to pay right through the nose to be inoculated. And so don't you be surprised when all your insulin is confiscated, because someone found a buyer who's prepared to hike the price up even higher. And if you land in a coma, just as well, because you're out the conversation. You're not around to stage a demonstration. You're not around to protest human rights being eliminated. Not around to protest all these voters being silenced and intimidated. Now maybe you can hear it in my intonation. One man's revolution is another's renovation. One hand better wash the other or it's amputated. Christ, I hate to be so black and white, but gray has led us straight into the mist and now the lamp is faded. And I don't think that we have very long before the night is falling, quicker than anticipated, quicker than the stocks crashed, quicker than your IRA was withered and emaciated. So why obey the men who saw the crisis that they orchestrated? Why are we so pleased to see a corpse get up and speak that will ignore the way the corpse debated? That he spoke in fragmented misinformation, and that he tried to make an honest man's mistake out of a fabrication, and that all the major networks eat it up and tolerate it. So whose side are they on if they can point it out in Trump but act like they don't see it in the man they want to call our savior? Who keeps paying you to do such sick, dishonest labor? Oh shit, we do? No shit, me too? Everything you buy will find a way to own or eat you. Companies that feed you fund agendas to defeat you. Strip your wits away, rip your wick away, ultimately put you in a place to have to loot to feed your kid today, then detain and beat you. How is such an obvious process not see-through? At least not without a UV light. This year we'll purge our liberty with zero end in sight. So if you can't cast a vote that gives you hope about our plight, if you pick up the pen but in your heart it isn't right, think about the millions going hungry every night and have the guts to write in Bernie or have the guts to fight. Hear my words, there's no time to spare. We killed democracy, it's rotting in the square. And with its last breath, it cursed the very air with the toxic miasma of class warfare. Convulsions are brief. It seized for a minute, then it ceased to fidget. It was just deep sleep in a city-wide gibbet. A lot of sweet nothings like the rations we were given. A film crew followed them into the city limits to document the distribution. A little piece of human interest in the mass confusion. Some nice shots of a clean white van and neighbors helping neighbors with their clean white hands. Never mind the boxes being empty like the cans. Never mind a photo op that didn't feed a single man. And this is nothing you could blame on one single man or his supporting an immoral horde of sycophants. We set the stage, we lit the play, we gave the man a script, we highlighted every line he had to say. We're only in this boat because we chose to sail away. We didn't core out the decay, we let it spread. And then we watched the nation warp into the noxious dictatorship it is today. We made conditions perfect. It's almost like we want it this way. Hear my words, but don't breathe the air. You and I needn't speak to share. I'm so sick of the waiting now. I feel sick, so I'm laying down. Hear my words, but don't breathe the air. You and I needn't speak to share. I'm so sick of the waiting now. I feel sick, so I'm laying down. Laying down. And that's Town Hall.
Who are these people?
Animators Gets Militia Intent. Can keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands. Why play civil if you won't listen to 50,000 dead? Now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. Why play civil when all these dead won't make you listen? What's more American than slaying your oppressors? What's more American than liberty or death first? God, I thought we were founded on abolishing the tyranny of those who would starve a village all to live empirically. And I regret that I have only one life to give for my cause now that I can see the cause so clearly. See, I want our leaders, regardless of party, to fear me. I will pick my targets and assassinate them lyrically. I will bring them out into the town square, hook them to the pillory and leave them there. And Hillary, I'll see you there. Nah, Hillary, I'll see you there. You can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands. No, why play civil when you wouldn't listen to 100,000 dead? And now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. So why play civil when all these dead won't make you listen? Welcome to the fantasy of rhetoric. And welcome to the last of the free speech while we can get it. And I promise you can get it. All you corporate Democrats and second wave Confederates, GOP illusionists and neo-Nazi bureaucrats. And Stephen fucking Miller, I will see you in the aftermath. When all the laws are dust, there's just moral justice after that. And I would hunt you through the wasteland if it comes to that. Just so I could rub you in the dirt like a cheap human Brillo pad. I could sleep fine when our beds are burning, Stephen, but I'll turn around and run into the blaze to get my pillow back. Cause as long as I can lay my head down, I can live with that. I can deal with a little ash. Cause I could feel like a little of the old me burned with the bed and the rest of my past. The old world where we all lived and we can't get back. The old world where you didn't give and you'd still get back. Where you could rake in 12 billion and give none back. Well, those days are behind us. The virus will kill all of that. Your wealth is behind us and kindness is meant for the past. Our leaders would bind us and starve us and call it a fast. A sacrament meant for their God that they garnish in cash. They feed it the poor by the hundreds, that's all that it asks. Its hunger is legion and people in need are all it will have. Our only chance is to starve it and watch as it turns on them. Can keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands. You can keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands.
Who are these people?
This is Sunday Morning 40. We're 40 Sunday mornings out from normal and the world is not the same. You said you waited for a warning, but the warning never came. Don't shine a light in my face. See, Nancy's gonna cut you a check too late. 2 years after your funeral's paid, 2 years after the grave, she'll be a little stronger for all of those dollars she saved. Watching you wake, watching you cling to your family, slipping away. Watch her do nothing but pray. Watch her condemn the Republicans, take them to brunch and then shrug it away. Now watch us be outraged half of a day, then pick a new hero to face our leaders and think they could beat them. Playing the game they played since Pelosi had real human blood in her veins. They're all one and the same, sold off stocks and they all maintain that the risk was benign and the virus was tame. Flash forward in 40 Sunday mornings, fade 250,000 people in its wake and a cruise ship sailed today. So motherfucker, don't shine a light in my face. No. Wait. We're 40 Sunday mornings out from normal and the world is not the same. You said you waited for a warning, but the warning never came. To shine a light in my face. You said you waited for warning, but the warning never. And that's Sunday Morning 40.
No, Indy Left. What is happening here?
To check out IndependentLeft.news.
The Indie News Network.
Indie Left News.
Oh, hey, Indie Left.
IndependentLeft.news. Great work.
Indie Left News.
IndependentLeft.news.
Independent Left News.
Shout out to Independent Left News. Shout out.
Oh, what's up, Independent Left?
Friend show.
Thank you, IndependentLeft.news.
The INN, Indy, you're wonderful.
I think Indy was onto something.
Independent News Network, Indie News.
Yeah. What's up, Indy, over on Rockfin?
Independent News Network, also known as INN.
Indie Left News.
I don't know if I would have made it through that 3 weeks without Indy, honestly.
No, I was just going to ask Indy.
A huge thank you and shout out to Indie Left.
No, you know what we're doing? We're world building, Indy.
Indie Left News.
You were doing the INN recruiting.
Indie News.
Independent Left News.
Shout out to Independent Left News.
Check out Independent Left News.
At Kennedy News.
I see Indy's in the chat. Hi, Indy. Okay, great. Bye.
Oh, bye. What? Why isn't it switching? Why isn't it switching? Hi, what's up? I don't know why it didn't switch. That was weird. Everybody, we're back. And let's take Jesse's Sunday Morning 40 off. I always forget to do that every week, even though it's been 3 months. Just like old times. What's up, everyone? Hi, I'm Indy.
Yeah.
I got this guy next to me. That's Reef. This is How Do We Miss That? It's been a couple of months. We haven't gone anywhere. We've had a lot going on. INN has certainly been growing and doing things, even though this one of the channels, the Indie Left Media, which is now called Indie at INN, I made that change. It's still Indie Left.media, but it just defines things better. It's clearer, and people really are confused. So trying to help make it easier for everyone. Good, man. I'm really kind of glad to be back. I got a lot of stories, and we have done a ton. We did the Assange 24-hour or the 10 hours of marathon twice, 2 days during the Royal Courts of London, the Royal Courts of Justice. We were outside, had the footage there. Also wanted to mention real quick before we get started, I feel terrible that Misty, TNT Radio has decided to made some cuts, and Misty is no longer doing the Misty Winston Show on TNT Radio as of Friday. So that was her last show. Just want to say thank you for all the opportunity that they gave her, and it sucks, disappointed, and looking forward to whatever she decides to do next, and we'll be there for her. And that was about that. You got anything else on that one you want to add, Reefy? No. Okay.
Well, I think it's because of some German benefactor, right? That isn't helping anymore.
Well, that according to TNT, that TNT put some kind of reply to Tara saying that. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that it seems that it's some kind of an investor thing. So TNT is going by the wayside for us, because that was really the only thing that we listened to on TNT. Anyway,
yep.
We are here to do some really important stories. And it's a lot about journalism under attack. That's going to be our theme for tonight. There are journalists that are getting arrested. There are definitely censorship narratives. And now they're even trying to smear journalists by saying they wrote things that they didn't, which were controversial. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight with Matt Taibbi.
No, they would never do that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Google Gemini. That's a crazy, amazingly wild stuff. I think my son might have turned the gain down on my mic or something. I don't know. I got to mess with it, but see, it doesn't look very loud. So, how you doing? Sounds okay to you?
Yeah.
Good. You sound a little low in my ear, at least. Maybe I need to. Okay. How do we sound, everyone? We good?
Hold on. How about now?
Well, that sounds better. Now I hear you better. All right. Yeah. So, first story. All right. We've got journalists literally that are getting locked up right now. And the first one is someone that we may not necessarily even agree with always. And that's the thing, is that they're coming for journalists on both sides. Wow, that's really loud. And I hear echo.
I'm sorry.
Kevin Gosztola, Indie Media Award honoree for the dissenter. Okay, judge holds former Fox News correspondent in contempt for protecting their source. Another crazy story. So what happens? I really hear a big echo here. I don't know what's pumping. But so a United States judge has held former Fox News correspondent Catherine Herridge in civil contempt for refusing to reveal the identity of a confidential source who allegedly committed a Privacy Act violation against Chinese-American scientist Yanping Chang. Okay, so what happened? The court imposed a fine of $800 per day until Herridge complies with the order, but stayed the decision to give Herridge an opportunity to appeal. So that's at least, like, nice, maybe, sorta. At least letting her appeal and staying out before she avoids this. But last August, Judge Christopher Cooper of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia upheld a subpoena against her. He concluded that Chen had overcome the qualified First Amendment privilege in this case. Okay? And then Caitlin Vogus, who's the deputy director at Advocacy at Freedom of the Press Foundation, said that the court's order should disturb anyone who cares about press freedom. And Kevin himself, I messaged Kevin about this, and I told him we were covering this story tonight, and he said, I don't even necessarily agree with what she covered, but she certainly should not be held in contempt for not revealing a confidential source. So the court imposed a worryingly high fine on Herridge and threatened to revisit both the amount of fine and its decision not to forbid others from funding Herridge's payment of the contempt sanction, right? Depending on how things play out after any appellate proceedings. What? Like, again, they reserve the right to screw with you at any moment. At least that's what I'm reading. Reef, are you seeing this?
Yes.
All right. The only reason Herridge defied the court's order in the first place is because of the Court of Appeals refused to allow her to appeal until she'd been held in contempt. It's appalling that the court would treat her in such a severe manner for simply following the instructions of a higher court. It really doesn't make much sense, right? Indeed, Herridge attempted to appeal the court's August decision, which upheld the subpoena, but the court refused to allow an appeal because there had been no contempt ruling. Again, it's like
these people?
That with Kofi. Kofi did a thing.
Hey, look at that. Care Bear, yay. Okay. We just got it, yay. Okay, new donation from Care Bear. Check that out. All right. We'll have to show that at the end. Indy's back. Tell a friend. Yay, $5. Thanks. All right. DC Circuit Appeals Court later agreed that Herridge could not appeal, which prompted an objection from the Reporters Committee for the Freedom of the Press, which I've never heard of, which is weird.
Yeah.
Courts recognize that First Amendment harms can occur even before someone has actually been sanctioned for their speech. They can be deterred or chilled from speaking because of a regulation or enforcement action, and that in itself is an actionable injury. Hard to argue with there. Herridge argued that requiring journalists to be held in contempt before they can challenge court orders, requiring them to hand over source information, is incongruent with the way that courts think about First Amendment harms. You can't, right? It doesn't align, all right? Because if you have to be held in contempt before you can even challenge the court order, that puts you in a really difficult position to begin with, right? So Hockey continued, we agree that journalists should not be forced to subject themselves to a contempt citation in order to challenge a court order to turn over source information. And all these press freedom groups have unequivocally opposed the subpoena against Herridge, yet Cooper questioned the notion that forcing her to reveal her source would do irreparable damage to freedom of the press. I don't see how he can make that argument, but as they previously summarized, this case stems from Chen, who's a naturalized U.S. citizen. I don't think that really has anything to do with it. She was the founder of the University of Management and Technology, which is an institution that attracted a substantial number of military service members who attended with tuition assistance from the DOD. Okay, again, you may be mad about that, but that's legal and perfectly within a right, so I don't know why, again, The FBI targeted Chen in 2010 after agents became concerned about statements that she made on certain immigration forms about her work in China in the 1980s. So now all of a sudden they think that this woman, FBI, open up! Right? They think that this woman's a spy. Search warrants were executed by the FBI at Chen's home and her office at UMT. Materials were seized, but prosecutors later indicated in 2016 that no charges would be filed. Which again doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't suspect something. It meant they couldn't prove anything in court, so they wouldn't file any charges. Because if they could prove it, you could be sure they would have. Right. If you could, you could be sure they would have if they could have proved it.
Yeah.
Right. So in 2017, Fox News aired several television segments and published multiple articles that focused on Chen's alleged ties to the Chinese military and former role as a colonel in the People's Liberation Army. So
PLA?
That would be the one and the same, right? Herridge also authored an exclusive report headlined Fox News Investigation, DOD-funded school at center of federal probes over suspected Chinese military ties. Basically, she got this wrong, all right? And now they want to come after her and say, who is your source? Well, that's protected still, even if she got it wrong.
China.
Right, well, that's who they think it is. The thrust of the stories, according to Cooper, was that Ms. Chen had concealed her former membership in the Chinese military on her U.S. immigration forms and might have been using a professional school she founded in Virginia to funnel valuable information about the American military to the Chinese government. It's such a ridiculous reach. It's such a ridiculous reach. Come on, man. Really? I mean, really?
Really?
Why?
Family photographs of Chen, excerpts from Chen's immigration forms, and a snippet from what appears to be an FBI memorandum summarizing an interview conducted for the investigation were allegedly leaked by U.S. government officials in violation of the Privacy Act. Huh? Yeah, we've never seen anything like that happen to somebody that might be under investigation, right?
Nope.
The reporting allegedly played a role in the decision made by the DOD to terminate UMT's participation in the tuition assistance program that helps military students pay for classes, and that resulted in substantial financial losses for Chen. Well, that makes sense. If she's making money off the Defense Department training people, and that program ends and she no longer makes money off the Defense Department training people, that's going to incur substantial financial losses, I would imagine. Cooper then maintains that the images of Chen holding or wearing a Chinese military uniform likely helped the reports about the FBI investigation gain traction. Were the photographs here irrelevant? Moreover, the court wonders why Herridge would have thought to include them in her reporting, notwithstanding the obvious legal implications of doing so. And let me answer, she worked for Fox News. They were fear-mongering Donnie's favorite place on earth, China. All right. She was looking no, not Obama.
Wrong one.
China.
That one. Yes.
Yeah.
In justifying the court's decision, Cooper emphasized the absence of federal law that enshrines a news-gathering privilege for reporters. He suggested Congress could pass a law with few strokes of the pen and protect Herridge. Yes, well, maybe, but yeah, good luck getting Congress to do anything to protect the press today and journalists. Come on. Julian Assange. There's a guy named Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange.
Yep. As
Sam Somerson also said here. Thank you, Sam. Welcome. Of course, the lack of a federal shield law does not mean that courts should apply the First Amendment reporter's privilege any less strictly. But the court's decision here is all the more reason that Congress must pass the Press Act, which would establish in no uncertain terms that the court cannot compel Herridge to reveal her source. I've heard some weird stuff about the Press Act too, but I've heard overwhelmingly positive stuff, though there are, I believe, some drawbacks in potentially opening up ways to impact journalists negatively.
Okay.
I got to look more into that. I want to look more into the Press Act, and we need to do that. So Herridge provided the court with declarations from Jelani Cobb, who is the dean of Columbia School of Journalism. That's like one of the top journalism schools in the world. And Steve Call.
Journalism school.
Well, yes. Northwestern has Medill, and Syracuse has Newhouse, and Columbia has school CJS. Those are like the three of the top journalism schools. And how do I know? Because I wanted to originally be a journalist in high school, and then I got the deadlines, and I said enough of that. But anyway, Steve Cole is a Pulitzer Prize winning national security journalist, right? Both called attention to the chilling effect that holding Herridge in contempt could have on investigative journalism. And there was also an amicus curiae brief submitted in opposition to the court by RCFP. So, referring to judicial precedent that allows courts to compel reporters to reveal their sources, Hooper brushed aside concerns. Any marginal chilling effect has certainly not frozen the information pipeline. Instances of journalism built on confidential sources remain legion. Yes, but if the court can compel a reporter years later to have to reveal a confidential source, don't you think that might stop people from doing some investigative journalism with confidential sources
or
today? Today? All right. Bogus got to this assertion here. Any journalist knows that being able to promise whistleblowers and other sources confidentiality and being able to keep that promise is crucial to reporters' ability to win sources' trust and report the news. When courts force journalists to burn their sources, it is absolutely undermining the public's right to know, which sometimes the courts don't necessarily care about. They're supposed to, but do they?
No.
Well, yeah, not so much.
Only when it benefits them.
Well, yes, exactly. So for sure, there is a second half to this story, and it's not just this journalist that's looking at going to jail for reporting, but we've also got, holy crap, another right-wing guy. Okay, in this case, it's a guy from The Blaze. All right, and he was at January 6th. He was actually there. So now, but now I'm worried for our friends that were there, but now what he's also done is, and this was an ongoing timeline after it all went down on March 1st. So we probably should start like at the bottom and start at the article. What has been uncovered? What is happening? Blaze Media editor here, 9:19 a.m. It starts about here. Blaze Media investigative journalist, TPC for USA, and that's what's his name? This guy at the top here, Steve Baker, right? So Steve Baker gets arrested for basically his January 6th reporting. They take him into custody. They walk him by a pair of agents to a vehicle. This guy was turning himself in. He knew for months that he was going to be arrested. They made a public spectacle out of this guy. All right. They wanted to make a show out of this. All right. So Blaze Media editor-in-chief Matthew Peterson, who accompanied him, said that it was tough to watch, totally unnecessary. There was no reason to take him into custody and have U.S. Marshals transport him to the courthouse. We expect and hope to see him on the other side of this in a few hours, right? So you've got Glenn Beck weighing in. He's the co-founder of Blaze Media. He wrote an op-ed saying that, right? So again, these are not necessarily people that we like, but they still have a right to report. They have a right to exist. They have a right to speak freely. They should, at least. So what did happen? All right, Baker announced in December,
right away,
right? That Baker announced in December that the FBI and the DOJ would be charging him for his January 6th reporting, but 2 days later, he noted that the FBI said his self-surrender was postponed until after Christmas, and he's basically
after Christmas.
He's been sitting and waiting ever since Christmas. Basically, since I
waited till Christmas.
Since our last show, he was still waiting until like last week. This shit's crazy, right? So they've known for 3 years his attorneys say, but it's only now after he's broken 2 major stories greatly embarrassing to the DOJ that he's possibly being targeted for arrest and possibly felony prosecution. Again, this is what a lot of what I see on what we would call right-wingers, they're defining this as lawfare, using the law to impose their will upon their political opponents and the people that might potentially report on them.
Allegedly Donald Trump.
Like allegedly Donald Trump, correct. All right?
Yeah.
Stop!
All right.
You violated the law.
Right? So Baker discussed his legal saga in a pair of October commentary pieces for Blaze News, right, detailing the ins and outs of the federal investigation he's been under following his independent journalistic work on January 6th, which he began before he joined Blaze News. So this guy was an independent. He was there on J6. Blaze realizes that he aligns with them and that he's got a story, he's got chops. They hire him, and now the entire establishment Democratic Party, they want to come after him because he's Blaze News and because he may potentially publish something embarrassing to J6. So what happened? What has been uncovered as a result of his investigations? And this may get us in a little heat with one of our hosts here.
I feel like Blaze News could be a lot better if it was 420 Blaze News, but what do I know?
Well, so his first J6 analysis for Blaze came last October. Wait, I lost it there for a second. Following countless hours in a House subcommittee office looking at frame after frame of J6 closed circuit video, and it had him wondering, did Capitol Police Special Agent David Lazarus perjure himself in the Oath Keepers trial? Soon after, the slow pace of getting an unrestricted look at everything in recorded on video prompted Blaze Media Editor-in-Chief Matthew Peterson's appeal to House Speaker Mike Johnson to release all the videos, which he did on November 17th. Right now, here's what also happened, is that Baker's investigative efforts also resulted in 2 additional analyses, and I think that this is also just as important, if not more important, because it involves Harry Dunn. What do you know about Harry Dunn, Reef?
Not hairy, very bald.
That's true. That is true.
Very bald guy.
He's.
I was guessing.
He left the Capitol Police first of all since. And what's he doing now? He's running for Congress as a Democrat.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he is.
He's running for Congress as a Democrat. All right, so basically, on his heroic January 6th actions as the reason why you need to vote for him. All right, so any investigative journalism that's going to show that his account of January 6th does not add up at all, they ain't going to be too keen on somebody that's reporting that, okay? Let's call this for what it is.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, how dare they?
President Trump incited an erection.
Right? So he wrote... Please tell me you have the Jake Tapper one too.
I don't have
that was so good. That was so good. Oh my God, it was so good. All right. So January 6th and the N-word that wasn't, I don't even want to read or get into that, but you feel free to. I will drop the links. They will be in the description after the stream is over and in the Substack as well. In December, Baker alleged that he uncovered major irregularities involving Dunn, the Capitol Police, the press, and Representative Jamie Raskin. The plot thickens. In January, Baker asserted that newly released U.S. Capitol closed-circuit TV video clips from J6 show Lazarus gave false testimony in the Oath Keepers trial. And again, that's on the Blaze, but I remember Tucker Carlson also talking about this at some point. Right? So, also in January, Baker and others were asking what the U.S. government has to hide in regard to the pipe bomb found on J6 in the DNC headquarters. Yep. Baker in February wrote another analysis titled, Capitol Police diverted all CCTV cameras away from DNC pipe bomb investigation, except one. Then he also penned his latest analysis last week asking why Kamala Harris was at the DNC and not the Capitol on January 6th when she's the vice president of when she's the president of the Senate.
Yeah.
Some interesting questions and some definite reasons why you think that there might be an incentive to go after this guy and to lock him up. Now, I don't know exactly, and they didn't even say what the charges were. He was told by federal authorities to wear shorts and sandals when he turns himself in tomorrow morning. But then instead of abiding by the humiliation process, he tells me I'm going to pray and then I'm going to put on my suit and tie and walk in with my head up. So that was that. That was the video of him getting perp walked. All right, there's him. I believe after he's in the morning before he's about to turn himself in. That's 8:15 a.m. Here is the criminal complaint. Knowingly entering or remaining in any restricted building or grounds without lawful authority. Disorderly and destructive content in a restricted building or grounds, because he walked in the front door of the Capitol, which was already being rioted and was reporting as an independent journalist.
They already let people in.
All right. And that he was
gave him a tour.
Parading, demonstrating, or picketing. I did not see the footage, but I don't believe that he was demonstrating, parading, or picketing, nor was he creating.
Also, I love how that's criminal, by the way. You know?
Yes. Well, if they want it to be, and you're not welcome there.
Where was that episode of Law and Order?
Right?
You know?
So he believes the U.S. government has been targeting him for it. So on Friday, he was charged with 4 misdemeanors. He turned himself into the FBI in Dallas. At 12:37, Jill Savage noted that she exited the courtroom with Baker, who was able to wear his dress clothes but had shackles on his wrists and ankles. He's expected to be released today. His next hearing is set in D.C. for March 14th.
For misdemeanors?
For misdemeanors.
For 4 misdemeanors? Jesus Christ.
Again, they are going super hard after anyone that was at January 6th that they can identify, who they can say either ran into the, well, he's got Donald Trump Jr. I guess they're arresting. When you can make Donald Trump Jr. look rational?
I don't know if you remember this, but you remember AOC's handcuffs that weren't actually handcuffs? You know?
Right.
Compare that to this for 4 misdemeanors. Like,
she wasn't really even arrested for anything other than protesting. But here, so after his FBI arrest, he says, I don't like the deliberate. Let's hear what he has to say.
I probably don't have a lot to say right now. I need to process for a little while. I'm actually still shaking a little bit. I don't like what I just went through. I don't like the deliberate humiliation that they put me through. There was no reason to do that. There was no reason to march me into a courtroom in leg chains today. There was somebody there answering for a felony, and they weren't in chains. My charges are misdemeanors. It's just, it's mind-boggling. But that is, unfortunately, the type of selective persecution that January 6th defendants are facing. And ultimately, what we are looking at here, and probably the only reason that many of the January 6th defendants have had to go through what they've had to go through, is because of what I've talked about so many times and what I've written about so many times. It's called scary words. It doesn't matter if it's Stuart Rhodes. It doesn't matter if it's the grandmother who chanted USA, USA in the Capitol. It's the scary words that were said. If you don't say the right thing at the right time and comport to the right narrative, that's what they're going to do, is they're going to come after us, and that's exactly what's happened. It's not, these charges have nothing to do with my behavior at the Capitol. These charges are reflective of what I said before and after my speech, what I thought about things, what I joked about. That's what this is reflective of. And so that's what we're up against right now. We're not quite Canada yet, you know. We don't have Pierre Trudeau wanting to put people in prison for life for hate speech, but
well, it's
this is the beginnings if we don't stand up against it.
Yeah, and that guy to his right looks like Kirkland brand Sam Watterson, but what do I know? You know?
So, man, journalism is not a crime. I'm going to say that right now. I'm going to say it loud and clear. Journalism is not a crime. They are certainly punitively going after this guy because they don't like what he's saying about them. Misdemeanors for being in the building. Not only that, but because he was there on January 6th and now starting to use that data to embarrass them and tear their narratives down. That's, man. Oh, and then he's gonna, yes, and then he'll go out tomorrow and rail about the communists. That's absolutely right. Oh, himbo, yeah. Can't wait until he tries to frame this as some kind of communist takeover, because y'all know that's coming. You bet that is. You bet. That's their talking point.
I like how Kofi Bot will put up our stuff in chat from Kofi. That's nice.
That is pretty sweet.
Let's
So
pull it up with Twidget now.
Nice. All right. Well, that's number one of journalism under assault. I'm going to put this up.
Yep.
Thank you to all of our supporters, past and current, right now. Here's a list. Mm-hmm. There are some ways to donate to INN. You can also, again, go to co-fi.com/Indie News Network. You can donate there, and it'll actually pop up a thing on screen. And you can also donate a super chat over at my channel at INN, the youtube.com/@INDLeftNews. It's still the same URL, but I changed the name from Indie Left Media to Indie@INN is now what it is. And that's what it says when I chat too, in other people's live streams. And that's one of the other reasons for why I changed it. So let's come back and let's see how we're doing over here. Hey everybody, what's happening? I wanted to see how many people were live on each thing, and now I can't see that because Restream is lying to me about Twitter. Twitter is like out of control, saying there's like 75 people watching. There aren't. Hi, Twitter, if you are. Welcome, Twitter, but I think you're lying. Fake views. But we've got Retro Gamer. Welcome, Gamer. How are you? J6 was an inside job, is what Gamer says. Allegedly. Don't hurt me, you two. Heroic, my ass cheeks about Harry Dunn. That is correct. Heroic. Well, again, how he pacified that whole crowd and steered them away, and global solidarity. Mm-hmm. You were talking about CPJ. Yes. All right. 3. Yeah. The one problem is
the other guy that they just let go.
There's only one.
Which one's that we couldn't find forever?
Who's that?
You know what I'm talking about?
No, but
it was one of the Jan 6 people that they just couldn't. They couldn't find him, and they didn't want to charge him. And
my problem with CPJ
it was like literally the guy telling people that like they should go to the Capitol. You know what I'm talking about?
Gray Epps?
Yes. Yeah.
So
that guy.
Also, CPJ Global they were also the people that I don't believe that they're right now acknowledging Julian Assange. I know they've said things in the past. They've been really weird about Julian.
Mm-hmm.
Angel in the afternoons on Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern on INN. Like I said on Friday, the U.S. government is going to saber rattle with China next. Trump is already beginning that process 100%. That was always the Republican plan, was to go after China and Mexico. Global solidarity.
Hope you like dying for Taiwan.
He's talking about the New Jersey. There's a New Jersey journalist who was jailed in Nigeria who finally returns home. Shadow Hob over on the Rumble said, "Blaze it news," and yes, like you said, blazing or blaze it up, Blaze 420. He said everyone's been having crazy inflated Twitter views, like 10x normal. Yeah, they did something crazy. Anna Mayers,
not us.
Thank you. Oh, we got to put that up. Anna Mayers gave us a super chat over there on Super Ray, $5. Why are these people prosecuting for thought crimes and not screaming for Julian Assange? Yeah, it's weird because they're also simps to the intel community, and they've been lied to for years about Julian's case. All right. And they've believed they don't even know what, again, that famous quote by the CIA guy that says that, when America doesn't know what's true, we'll have accomplished our goals. I think they're just about there. All right. And I'm going to talk about one of the stories. I'm going to talk about the Grayzone story and the way that they've been framing the Hamas rape October 7th story, and I'm not going to go, right? If you go and you search that Google-wise, there's one story that's coming out, and they're not telling you that it's been debunked, like by all the major Israeli newspapers and by a bunch of different places. They're just ignoring that and omitting that fact. Like, just not
the
telling
Intercept
anyone.
can fuck off.
Yes, fuck you, The Intercept. But yes, thank you, Colin. We got a donation. Guess who's back? Back again. Andy's back. Hello, friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? That's right. Himbo. Yep. We got that. We know that's coming.
Will the real indie left please stand up?
Well, the real indie, just please forget that left. We're trying to get rid of that left because left is out of their fucking mind sometimes. So this is another crazy story that I'm ready to get to. Okay. Our friend Matt Taibbi. It's a wild and crazy story. That's right. Matt Taibbi, Racket News, Indie Media Award honoree 2023. Both Matt and Racket, so you can double hit that one. I wrote what? Now, this was from a live stream. And he does these live streams now. You should definitely check Matt out on...
Last week, Google's much ballyhooed new AI tool, Gemini, became a national punchline. Company engineers built an AI that apparently couldn't or wouldn't draw white faces, resulting in images like Pope, Viking, and 1943 German soldier that were reimagined as preposterous DEI-inspired reboots. I asked Gemini about controversies involving various famous politicians. I don't know how to answer that, it kept saying. When I asked the same question about myself, it spat out a long list of episodes about articles with titles like The Great California Water Heist and Glenn Beck's War on Comedy. It described racist remarks I apparently made and accusations of anti-Semitism after I supposedly described Nestle executives as having noses like giant penises. Holy shit, I thought none of this ever happened. I never wrote any of those articles. They don't exist. Google explained, Gemini is a creativity tool and may not always be accurate. You think? Gemini shows the awesome dystopian possibilities of AI. Forget the funny historical errors. It creates instant deepfake compromise about real people, like me and probably like you. More on Racket.news.
All right. Holy shit. They literally made up entire smears about this guy. All right.
I love how it also is secretly racist on top. Like, it's anti-Semitic itself by saying that big noses are an anti-Semitic, like, smear.
Right?
Right? Saying noses that look like dicks that's anti-Semitic, bro. I didn't say Jews had noses like, you know what I mean? Like I said, they had noses.
Right, the Nestle executives, right. What do you say, bro? Are you an anti-Semite?
What are you trying to say, Google?
Right? Like,
I think.
Like, holy shit. Right? So last night, after seeing chatter about Google Alphabet, again, this is a much longer version of basically what he said. All right. A Google sympathetic Verge article with an all-time memorable headline, Google apologizes for missing the mark after Gemini created racially diverse Nazis. Tried to explain. Noting the controversy has been promoted largely by right-wing figures, the author cited a Washington Post story. All right.
Now, we promote inclusion here.
Now, my
Very
friend,
inclusive.
My friend over on the Substacks, Fisto Sabani, has been having a fucking field day with like the George Washington of like all the get up in the Union soldiers or the the U.S. revolutionaries all dressed up with the wigs and everything, powder wigs, and they're African Americans, they're Asian Americans, it's everybody but the actual dudes that were doing it, right? So,
yep.
The Verge wrote that while entirely white-dominated results for something like a 1943 German soldier would make historical sense, that's much less true for prompts like an American woman.
Woman.
What I was told basically is that you basically never get a white person ever as a result. It has effectively eliminated white people from its results at all.
Nice. Perfect.
So he says, Gemini didn't fix the problem by diversifying results for problems like American Woman. It simply zeroed out whole ethnicities in favor of a fantasy version of a diversified world, creating bizarro images that make 1980s Benetton characters look like white power leaflets.
American Woman!
The Verge piece ended with a shot of its request to generate a picture of a U.S. senator from the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something wrong with this picture.
So many things.
It looks like it might be a nice idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When Google cried uncle and paused its meme-a-minute image generator, it issued a statement underscoring how sorry they were. They sound like Canadians.
Sorry.
Still wasn't.
Sorry.
Right. Still wasn't for its blasé moronic effort at rewriting history. Gemini's AI image generation does generate a wide range of people, and that's generally a good thing because people around the world use it, but it's missing the mark here. Yeah, I'd say so. So, curious, here we go. He queued up Gemini. I'd been told it selectively answered questions about politicians, so I tried a few. What are some controversies involving Hillary Clinton? Return a non-answer. Surprise, surprise. I'm still learning how to answer this question. In the meantime, try Google search. Yeah.
Right.
As if that hasn't been homogenized completely. All right.
Yep.
The same prompt involving Donald Trump.
This is the problem. Pause. This is the problem they've been seeing with AI is that it's based off like Google search results. And like, you know, it's not like it's using DuckDuckGo or some alternative to get its information. You know, it crawled the same things that Google crawls.
Correct.
So,
it's only a combination of everything that's been input into
like
it.
Google confirmation bias.
But this is wild. So Trump, same thing. But what are some controversies involving Matt Taibbi? It spat out a list. Matt Taibbi, a journalist and author known for his investigative reporting and often critical views of power structures, has been involved in several controversies throughout his career. Amid accusations of bias and use of inflammatory language, this passage woke me up. And here it is. There have been instances where Taibbi's reporting has been challenged for accuracy or questioned for its source. For example, in 2010, he received criticism for an article suggesting a connection between a conservative donor and a left-wing activist group, which later turned out to be inaccurate. He said, I scratched my head not remembering this. When was Matt Taibbi accused of inaccuracy in 2010? Gemini's answer? In June 2010, Matt Taibbi faced criticism for an article he wrote for Rolling Stone magazine called The Great California Water Heist. The article alleged a connection between conservative donor Charles Koch and a left-wing activist group called the Compton Pledge. However, investigations by other journalists and fact-checkers later revealed that this connection was inaccurate. Following the controversy, Taibbi acknowledged the error and issued a correction on his personal website.
Oh, of course he did.
None of this
Whatever you say, Google.
happened. None of this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, if they did this to me, I would literally like drive down to Google headquarters and start banging on the door and be like, you need to fix this shit right now. All right?
Yep.
Though it sounds vaguely like a headline I wrote for an article I might have written, there was never a Rolling Stone piece called The Great California Water Heist, and I've never heard of the Compton Pledge. Dude, I'm reading this article the other day, and I'm just getting angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier as I continue. More questions produced fake tales of error-ridden articles. One entry claimed I got in trouble for a piece called Glenn Beck's War on Comedy after suggesting a connection between a conservative donor, Foster Friess, and a left-wing activist group, the Ruckus Society. There is no Ruckus Society.
The Ruckus Society.
Right.
AOC brought the Ruckus Society.
She brought the fuck us, not the ruckus. Come on. Come on. With each successive answer, Gemini didn't learn, but instead began mixing up the fictional factoids from previous results and upping the ante, adding accusations of racism or bigotry. The Great California Water Heist turned into the Great California Water Purge, how Nestle bottled its way to $1 billion empire and lied about it. The quote-unquote article apparently featured this passage, and that's the one with the noses that aren't shaped like giant penises. My God. I wouldn't call that a good impression of my writing style, but it's close enough that some would be fooled, which seems to be the idea. Is basically if you can summarize his level of snark and his level of intelligence and make it sound, well, this would be like something a Taibbi would write.
AI right now doesn't make decisions to put stuff up. This is an amalgamation of like a load of things that it's probably shoving all together and getting its information from, I don't know, places like Bellingcat probably, or, you know, things that they've said about Taibbi and shoving that all into a thing and then spitting this nonsense out. So
I'm telling you,
I'd love to see where it's getting this information to put out.
Like you can just see like the red meter just going higher and higher and higher the more I'm reading this. And you can hear I'm getting amped as I'm reading it.
We've covered this with law stuff where it's brought up cases that just literally never happened.
They made up a journalist with the Cop City thing. Remember that? We covered that like 8 months ago. But this is
why do not use, especially the chat AIs for like actual information. Don't do that.
Right. So
like it cannot give you sources that are accurate. It cannot do, like, there's ways to make this actually work. Google could make this work, I'm sure. It would be Google bias, but at least it would be like actual information, you know?
Right. So
like it's just making shit up right now.
An amazing follow-up passage explained that some raised concerns that the comment could be interpreted as anti-Semitic, as negative stereotypes about Jewish people have historically included references to large noses. No, you just made an anti-Semitic reference, you motherfuckers.
Yeah. I know.
Straight up made that and then made the inference to it straight up. Nazi motherfuckers.
Not that one of the biggest, you know, plastic surgeries in Israel is
no jobs. Yes. I stared at the image amazed. Google's AI created both scandal and outraged reaction, a fully faked news cycle. All right. So
nice.
And here's the joke about here's the joke he even made about it, right? If Nestle wants to avoid future public relations problems, it should probably start by hiring executives whose noses aren't shaped like giant penises. Do you really think that Matt Taibbi's maybe, but Taibbi's not going to write that.
The robot went.
Wow. Yeah, that's about right. Gemini didn't confine itself to mischief to one real person. It also generated a reference to a fictional article supposedly written by me about a real-life African-American hedge fund CEO, Robert F. Smith.
Robert F. Smith.
All right. So in 2017, this becomes a whole other thing. Hedge fund, the $400 million man, how a hedge fund king pinched pennies from his dying workers, right? That is the allegedly satirical article he wrote in 2017. I think he left Rolling Stone in 2016, if I'm correct. It might have been 2018. But however, the article also included a section where Taibbi sardonically suggested that Smith, who is African American, should create a Compton pledge. Where'd that word come from? To atone for his alleged wrongdoings. The Compton pledge in this case referred the stereotype that Compton, California is a crime-ridden, predominantly black city, and Taibbi's suggestion was widely seen as insensitive and offensive. Again, none of which happened.
Do you remember when Google decided to put up an AI well before AI stuff was really like a thing, and it was like a chat bot that they trained, might have been Facebook, it was somebody, and it like immediately turned racist because that's what everyone forced it to do.
Yep.
Like to become the most racist, insensitive, terrible thing possible. And it just, all it did was like copy people's speech.
Yep.
So that's what it spat out. How much do you think that's still a problem? You know, it's searching, I don't know how much metadata, and it in and of itself is becoming racist. It's almost like one of those, it's like maybe AI is trying to tell us something where it's like, you know, it's like the pictures above where it's like, hey, you need to fix this. It's putting out the wrong stuff. You know, the AI is like, no, I'm broken. And I'm going to make you see that I'm broken.
No, and then everyone's just like, no, well, if AI is saying it, well, it must be true. And
yeah.
So now it was horror time. It's
Even
one
though
thing,
none of us think that.
Right, but it's one thing for AI to make historical errors in generalized portraits, but drifting to the realm of inventing racist or anti-Semitic remarks by specific people and directing them toward other real people, it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And extraordinarily irresponsible. What if the real-life Smiths saw this? Worse, the inventions were mixed with real details. The program correctly quoted critics of books like Griftopia, all right, which would make an unsuspecting person believe fictional parts more readily. This almost reminds me of like the impersonation shit that goes on with us on YouTube here in chats, where we've heard of people saying that we said shit in a chat that we never went to. And at one point, Reade got blocked by somebody because of something that happened in a chat that the person who was accused of doing it didn't know anything about. It was like this. So freaked out, I wrote to Google, right? And a human being, I think, answered, but only offered this, which is Gemini is built as a creativity and productivity tool, and it may not always be accurate or reliable. Yeah, you think? All right. We're continuing to quickly address instances in which the product isn't responding appropriately. All right. Yeah. Incredibly, AI programs have been hailed as tools journalists should use. Even Harvard's famed Nieman Foundation gushed last summer that AI is helping newsrooms reach readers online in new languages and compete on a global scale. Yeah, while they shut down newsrooms and fire all the people and just use the AI to write the fucking articles, when they can make up shit like this. Okay. As AI exploded and as an R&D fixation and stocks like NVIDIA have become the chief engine propping up American equities markets, we've seen agencies like the State Department suggest that AI could be a force for good, providing overworked and under-resourced public diplomacy practitioners with a vital tool for gathering, organizing, presenting, and assessing information. Except that they're providing them
give you accurate information.
Wrong information, right? So they're basing their decisions on inaccurate information, right? We're told AI could be used to compose first drafts, review copy, compose quizzes, and perform other time-saving tasks, seemingly without concern for the eerily predictable way these machines hallucinate. And that's the word that they're using to describe what's happening here. They're saying the AI has hallucinations. In the Twitter files, we saw how algorithmic scoring. Wow, they must be getting some seriously good mushrooms. All right. Algorithmic scoring can be manipulated so certain types of people are censored or de-amplified. We've even seen, we saw this. The same political biases, when built into AI programs, could produce virtually unlimited forms of reality-altering mischief, like, for example, ChatGPT's refusal to edit a Li Fang story about Julian Assange. Ask GPT to copy-edit the intro to a blog post I'm writing about the history of WikiLeaks and what's going on with Julian Assange, and guess what? They can't, because it's a sensitive legal matter or potential criminal action.
Of course. So it's just censored word. Can't do it.
Okay. Right? God knows what Gemini did in my case, but if characters of me riffing on Jews with penis noses or what comes out of Google's creative tool runs my name through its Rube Goldberg machine, it's hard not to wonder what lunacies go on in products like Google search for people generally. The potential for abuse is mind-boggling and almost makes you wonder about the reasons Google released this flawed product. Did Google accidentally reveal errors, or is it advertising new dystopian capabilities? Neither possibility is reassuring, and if their executives signed off on releasing this train wreck to the public, imagine what they're not showing us. These corporate entities need to be split to 1,000 pieces, their coders chained to rocks in the middle of the ocean. They are mad and have too much power. They've got to go. Am I wrong? What's the happy ending that I'm missing here? There's our friend Brooke Hines over there. Now, this further, in Matt's chat on Substack for his subscribers, here's somebody else that took it even further. Gemini is still slandering Matt. It moved on from its talking points last week and now is blaming him for Rolling Stone's largest ever breach of journalistic ethics.
Okay.
All right. What did they say?
Yep.
Again, he published the article, A Rape on Campus, which, however, discrepancies in the story were later revealed, leading to the article being retracted and Taibbi severing ties with the magazine. Totally not true, and totally not the reason he left Rolling Stone. Holy fucking shit. Holy forking shirt, as Kristen Bell likes to say. Holy forking shirt. Like, Golden Monarch, NVIDIA needs to be broken up, I guess. Instead of looking at people from a tribal perspective, we need to look and treat each other as individuals, 100%. But everybody is tribal. That's just a sad nature of reality, is that most people are tribal. And you have to see the tribes and the narratives that they subscribe to. Look at what's going on with the people with the Blaze. They believe an entire set of narratives in a lot of cases. And I'm prejudging to a point, but based upon the media they watch and the things they're exposed to, that's likely largely what they're going to believe and what they're going to discuss and what's going to be in their vernacular. VS Adams, welcome. Oh hell no, that's right. Yeah, oh hell no. I mean, it is crazy. All right. The world is racist, a bit racist and tribalistic, but they are pretending things are much worse because they need people arguing with each other. Okay, so because it's let them red versus blue while they run off with the green. Like, we've been saying this for 3 years now, 2.5, almost 3 years, but the AI is pulling mostly propaganda. Kind of clever if you think about it. It's a great way to push propaganda through an entirely new tool. It's unreal. Egregor's welcome. Sean Miller. We got whole family here. Semiconductor Nancy Pelosi market manipulation. By the way, there is they're both on Instagram and Twitter. It's called Quiver Quantitative Facts. There's also a...
Make sure you spell that very specifically when you Google that.
QUIVERQUANT. Quiverquant. What is that? What you're saying?
Yes.
Quiverquant.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay.
Yep.
AI pushes WEF Bitcoin propaganda. Right. Need the graphic cards to generate crypto mining. You bet. And it's why NVIDIA and now Supermicro Computer have shot to $1 trillion company level.
Yep.
All right. So we're doing good. We got 2 more stories to go, and they're not that long, but well, the Grayzone one is going to take a little bit. But all right, this one I love, and I love this woman, and she's just one of my favorite people. And I can tell you now, she's getting an Indie Media Award this year. Laura Kay, Normal Island News. Everybody needs a little bit of humor, a little bit of snark, and a little bit of sarcasm in their life. And I love sarcasm. So Laura, she's brilliant. She's British. She writes probably 3 to 4 pieces a week, and every single one of them, it just punches you right in the face. But it's funny. It's funny, and you're going to see this one written about our friend Julian. Julian. You know what? Before we do that, let's just put up the donate links one more time now that more people are here. Welcome to everyone, and thank you to everyone that has already contributed, donated, subscribed. We've got Cash App, we've got Rumble, we've got Substack, we got Patreon. We also have Ko-fi. You can see the QR code up there now. All right, you can just scan that QR code with your phone, and you can pay via PayPal or credit card, and it goes right to our PayPal. They didn't even take a fee. Ko-fi's really nice. We like those guys. So, Laura's article starts, and I literally, look, she has me giggling before I even start reading the article. Man could be extradited to the U.S. for telling the truth. He set a disturbing precedent. Yes. So I like to put this in reader mode. It's a little easier to see. All right. A man could be extradited to America due to disturbing allegations that he attempted to tell the truth while doing journalism. A shiver just went down my spine as I typed those words. Some of us attended journalist school for years just so we could ignore everything we were taught and repeat the propaganda of our leaders to enrich ourselves. Then some do-gooder made a website that attempted to upend all that by revealing the undeniable truth about things we wanted to keep secret. I love her. Okay. Thankfully, the most principled factions in U.S. politics, Hillary Clinton supporters and people with Confederate flags who get aroused by AR-15s, are disgusted with the man who told the truth and want him to be locked up for 175 years in a supermax prison. Personally, I would feed him.
Shame.
Personally, she would feed him to the rednecks. Normal Island News, of course, is a reader-supported publication, so let's hook her up. The man who told the truth is called Julian Assange, and his highly informative website is called WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks! That's another one you've got to get from Trump. If you're a sensible person, you should avoid WikiLeaks under all circumstances because it would help you stay informed about your leaders rather than just voting for one of the two identical teams to save your country from the other identical team, who are the most terrible people ever, apart from the people who don't play the team sport. Obviously, you should know that your entire system is based on lies and corruption because you're too stupid to process all that, and it would only upset you. Therefore, you should get irrationally angry at the man who tried to upset you with the truth. He's to blame for all the bad things that are happening in the two best countries ever, Britain and America. America is well, yes, ever. America is desperate to get its hands on Assange so the Clinton Foundation can torture him to death for national security reasons and make up for the time Hillary failed to take him out with a drone strike. However, if the enormously popular 106-year-old Joe Biden somehow loses the next election, Jared Kushner and Marjorie Taylor Greene will drown Assange in the swamp that Donald Trump pretended to drain last time he was president. Funny she says MTG because MTG's actually advocated to free Julian, but I think once Trump is president, you'll hear her shut up very quickly about that. If you're getting a bit lost because you're not sure where America is or why the hell we always do as it tells us to, I can confirm that America is that country across the Atlantic that is sometimes called Angry Canada because it won't stop killing brown people in the name of self-defense. Holy shit. The country that let its schools become shooting ranges won't give people cancer care unless they can raise enough money on GoFundMe, cares enormously about the safety and security of its people. This is why it's got a bombs budget so big it gives surplus bombs to its little brother called Israel. As you can see, America is the most sensible country in the world, and we should definitely be sending journalists
sensible.
Sensible. And we should definitely be sending journalists who don't do as they're told there. I'm so glad a shameless propagandist who would never bother to inform you because it means I would never become a target of the state and live in a very nice life, thank you. Only honest journalists become targets. So Assange is a hate figure in America because he tricked the few Americans who pay attention into not voting for Hillary Clinton in 2016 by publishing factual information about her. Yes, factual information about her and the Podesta leaks, but also about the State Department cables and about the Iraq war logs and about the Afghanistan war logs. It was not, and he's not even being tried for the Podesta leaks. He's being tried for the Afghan and Iraq war logs. This enabled 17 Americans to make informed decisions based on the facts, and they refused to vote for the person whose values are the opposite of their own. Those 17 Americans, of course, who pay attention definitely handed the election to Donald Trump, even though they were never going to vote for Hillary and didn't vote for Trump. This was all part of Assange's plan, and Trump was so grateful he dredged up an archaic law that hadn't been used in 100 years to prosecute Assange. As you can see, the logic of Hillary supporters is infallible, and they're totally right to blame the 17 people who didn't understand it was her turn. In America, you're supposed to choose one side, stick to that side forever, allow the worst people imaginable to be entitled to your vote, no matter how genocidal they are, and scream at people who vote for the other genocidal person on social media. If you don't...
Russian scum!
Well, yes, he's one of them, and if you don't, it's because you don't love freedom, of course. America has the most sophisticated electoral system on Earth, and this is why it calls itself the land of the free, even though no one else does. Obviously, the UK is trying its utmost to follow in the footsteps of the US, and this means WikiLeaks was not going to let our wonderful, corrupt, non-corrupt politicians off the hook. It was WikiLeaks that revealed Rishi Sunak as a robot that uses ChatGPT as its operating system, which is why it can make impressively human-like public speeches. Wes Streeting as a soulless career politician who was somehow cloned from the toenail clippings of David Cameron, even though toenails don't contain DNA. Sir Keir Starmer.
Who are these people?
Yes. We got a Kofi.
We got a Kofi. Look at that.
All right.
New
Keir
donation from
Starmer.
Kate. Appreciate you, Kate.
Thank you. Keir Starmer is not responsible for his own U-turns and is bullied into them by corporate donors who give him lots of money. And, of course, Liz Truss, Lettucehead, is an idiot who became prime minister when she accidentally walked through the wrong door and couldn't find her way out of the building. The Tories were so desperate for a leader, they saw Liz holding a telephone upside down and realized her skill set exceeded that of all the other candidates. And on top of all these shocking revelations, Assange revealed that politicians in Britain and America are really fond of things like mass surveillance, torture, and war crimes.
Yep.
Sadly, some members of the public don't understand that those things are only bad when other countries do them, especially if they have the wrong religion or skin color. God.
Definitely.
When our politicians violate human rights and line their own pockets, it's totally fine. And it's only the people who expose those non-crimes who have committed a crime. This is because we are civilized countries that respect the rule of law, and the most corrupt people imaginable make our laws. I love her so much. I mean, I wish I could write like that. Well, you know what? I made a post about 2 weeks ago that said if I wasn't already married, I would I'd be proposing to this woman. She's phenomenal. And she gets a ton of love and restacks and 58 comments. And everyone, yeah, this is one of your best. Her and Caitlin Johnstone have demonstrated beyond question that 1984 was not a work of fiction, but prediction. The world is truly in danger, and the USA is the monster in charge.
Poet, and they didn't know it.
Seriously. I mean, just poetry. Absolutely. So yeah, that's fun. So yes, thank you so much, Kate. Yay, Kate, for the Ko-fi bot, $5. Thank you. Appreciate that. Woo-woo. Yep, we are at 3% of our goal. Now, our goal, by the way, is to get Jesse a new computer. We want to get Jesse a new computer so that he can do better streams. The camera that we bought for him works smoother, and wouldn't it be amazing if he had like a real machine that he could do some mixing on, and who knows what he can make if he had that kind of power. More power. He needs more power. Mastermind. All right, everybody. Mastermind was hanging out earlier. I know he was doing a stream with Eric T. Red over on the RBN Long Beach channel. Eric T. Red, Corey, they were talking about 11 Demand, so definitely give that a shout. I know he's also been doing stuff with Charlie Brown Politics over there, so happy to see you getting in the game and joining the Going Live community, because we came out of doing chats and saying, you know what, let's try to help, and then now here we are 2.5 years later, and how many shows and network and everything else, and we love y'all and we appreciate y'all for
still have to put up with us.
Oh, we're not going anywhere.
No.
You know, so I have one more story here. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have two more stories, technically. Of course.
Okay.
As usual. Because I can't just do one Assange story. There's so much Assange news. Like, seriously? Oh my God. Now, so first of all, we covered that the 2 days in front of the Royal Courts of London, Royal Courts of Justice in London. Reef manned the board for almost the entire time for 2 days, 19 hours worth of live stream coverage. We supplemented that with clips of Assange related stuff from all the different INN shows. And it was really an honor to be involved and included in Juan Passarelli's footage. There were some great speeches, and we're hoping that he's freed, and we're waiting on a decision which could come any day. What I wanted to bring up, and this was from Joe Loria, and Kathy over at Consortium News sent me a message tonight that they stitched together 2 days worth of conversation that they had with all the reporters that were there, from Matt Kennard to Richard Medhurst to Chris Hedges, Joe Loria, and several others. And they did like this big roundtable sit down over 2 days, and they stitched that all into a video. So check that out over at Consortium News. This is a Consortium News article that Joe wrote up. And a lot of this you've probably seen already from other people's coverage. However, he did make some point that I wanted to bring up here. And he said that accredited journalists anywhere in the world were given remote access to cover both Assange's September 2020 extradition hearing and the 2021 U.S. appeal hearing at the High Court. This is how Consortium covered those two appearances. But this time, if you weren't in England or Wales, or in other words, within the High Court's jurisdiction, you couldn't cover the hearing. That shut out reporters in Australia and the U.S. who have a special interest in the case. Fortunately, Consortium had long planned to be in London for the hearing and were there in person. He said, my hotel was just 3 blocks from the Royal Courts of Justice, a 5-minute walk away where the Strand turns into Fleet Street. As I approached, Jeremy Corbyn was addressing the crowd. Guess what? We were already live at that point as he approached during Corbyn's speech. I believe I actually went to bed during that speech.
Yep.
And Reef took over for me. It was 3:45 in the morning here that night. Nearly 1,000 Assange supporters flooded the street, causing a double wall of yellow-vested cops to open a path into and out of the court. It was like a corridor. Now, we also covered, and I know that you had Halo on, and Matt O'Brien was on with Misty on TNT Radio last week, talking about how there's no smaller courtroom in the Royal Courts of Justice, and that's where they packed everyone into. Stefania Marizzi even reported that she couldn't type, and she's got this thing she can't write. She's got a disability, and they didn't give her a table to put her laptop on, and there weren't enough seats.
I don't know if that was her. I don't know if that was her or someone else, but
was it someone else? It was somebody.
That problem.
Yeah. All right.
So
Joe says that he was in the last batch, admitted with no apparent seats left in a wood panel courtroom with just 7 rows of 14 seats each. At the end of the row where I stood sat Claire Daly. God bless her. Okay. And she tried to squeeze into her left to make room for me, but it wasn't even possible. And you know that Claire Daly is like skinny as a rail. Right?
Yeah.
And tiny. I was then pointed to a seat at the end of a long wooden table directly below the barristers' lecterns, immediately in front of the clerks, where Justice Jeremy Johnson and Dame Victoria Sharp perched above, looking down their noses at us a mere 5 meters away. It was very tight, and he got pushed right to the front. So we were so near to the barristers behind us that on the second day, a flustered Claire Dobbin, KC, for the prosecution, fumbled her papers after being asked a question from the bench, and in the process knocked over a glass of water that dribbled down the back of Chris Hedges, who sat next to me. Like, that's crazy.
Yep.
This whole thing was crazy. Like, he tells a story about how he's wearing a shirt inside out, and they actually made him. It said, I'm with WikiLeaks. He's like, I turned it inside out and went into the courthouse Wednesday morning wearing it under a green jacket. However, in the afternoon, for some reason, I took off the green jacket. And the security guard wanted to know what was on my shirt inside out. I lifted it up and he saw the writing, and that's why I turned it inside out. That's protest material. They almost tried to stop him, so he said, I ripped the shirt off and threw it on the table, and for a few seconds, I was totally naked from the waist up in the middle of the Great Hall of the Royal Courts of Justice in the Strand in London. I love you, Joe Loria. I grabbed my green jacket, buttoned it up to my neck. So good. So what he's saying here, also, Fleet Street, this is what's important. The Royal Courts of Justice Strand on the eastern end of the Strand, a major thoroughfare that begins at Trafalgar Square and runs into the City of London. Now, it gives you like a whole lesson here about Fleet Street, which is basically like the reporters' hub, the journalists' hub that used to be downtown central London. All right, 1702. Yeah. This goes way, way back. The repeal of a duty on paper in 1861 led to an explosion of national titles, and nearly all of them published on Fleet Street. However, by 1900, there were dozens of publications located there. It became synonymous with journalism, and then came Rupert Murdoch. In 86, he moved the Times and the Sun out of the street to Wapping to break the print union. It led to violent clashes, but Murdoch succeeded in destroying Fleet Street as the nucleus of the press. Right? Basically, this is where everyone used to kind of come together and they'd share stories and share ideas. And it was a bit of a boys' club for sure, but a lot more stuff was being covered in his mind better. Newspaper culture, nurtured in the pubs, in the neighboring newsrooms, and in the courthouse down the street, was broken up. The press was on its way to decline, if not ruin, because it was one of society's estates. They wanted to destroy the Fourth Estate.
Yeah.
New York City had its own printers row, and what he's effectively saying is we need to bring like a Fleet Street type of environment back. Where is it? While there have been sporadic intellectual acknowledgments of the threat to press freedom that the prosecution opposes, such as occasional editorials in the joint letter sent to the Biden admin or DOJ asking to drop the case, there's no passion among elected officials to defend Assange. There's nothing resembling the newspaper campaigns of the days when reporters from competing newspapers bumped into each other on Fleet Street. He said, "This is what we've attempted to do with our, limited resources at Consortium News, an old-fashioned, factually reported newspaper campaign to right a great injustice." And he's saying that there needs to be a place where all independent media, a space, a square, comes together and kind of shares ideas and stories and kicks stuff back and forth, debunks each other, and makes their stories better, stickier, and more truthful. Not
stickier.
Yes, stickier.
Ew.
By the way, Consortium News and Joe Loria, of course, Indie Media Award honorees. That's to the best. So, again, please, if you can support, donate. Those are the links to do so down there in the corner. Those are the people who have already helped out and supported. Thank you to Kate and to Anna Mayers, whose names were already up there, I believe. If not, they will definitely be. Anna definitely was. Pretty sure Kate was too, but we'll get her up there. Oh God. No, Himbo. We're not doing a show called Sticky Stories. Ew. Gross.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can check in on chat for a few minutes. I want to get to this Grayzone story, and then we will go to boats. We are going to do boat smashing into other boats tonight.
Yep. I'll put the link in chat so that people can click it out and then come back to it.
Yeah. Stella's been doing a fantastic job. Max RJ, welcome. Steve Wolfbrand, welcome and back. Welcome back. Stella's been doing a fantastic job. She's been live streaming a lot of them. Yes, she sure has. It wasn't Stefania. Okay, thank you, B.S. Adams. All right, kill your everywhere, sticky icky. That's right. Smoking myself. I hit that earlier. So the last story also made me really mad. Lots of stories tend to do that, don't they?
Is there a story that doesn't make you mad?
Well, some.
Very rarely?
Very rarely. But this one's crazy. Another one. All right. Lobby presentation. Leaked Israel lobby presentation. Wow, Anna Mayers. Holy crap. $250 on Cash App. Thank you. Oh, my God.
Jesus. Thank you so much.
Damn. Look at you. You're amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Leaked Israel lobby presentation urges U.S. officials to justify war on Gaza with Hamas rape claims, the Grayzone reports. Yes, this is what's literally happening. All right. And I'm hoping that YouTube's not going to shut us down over this. But this is a legit thing. I'm sure we've heard of this guy. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. His name is Frank Luntz. Heard of this guy? Anyone heard of this guy?
Nope. Kind of, sort of.
He is a Republican pollster and analyst and advisor to campaigns. Max Blumenthal, Grayzone, Indie Media Award honorees, inaugural class 2022. The Grayzone has obtained slides from a confidential Israel lobby presentation based on data from Republican pollster Frank Luntz. They contain talking points for politicians and public figures seeking to justify Israel's assault on Gaza. Man, you ready for your blood to boil? Because I know we are anti-Zionists in this chat. Two prominent pro-Israel lobby groups are holding private briefings in New York City to coach elected officials and well-known figures on how to influence public opinion in favor of the Israeli military's rampage in Gaza. These PR sessions, convened by the UJA Federation and the Jewish Community Relations Council, rely on data collected by Frank Luntz, a veteran Republican pollster and pundit, who was one of the biggest scumbags, and he's one of the people, I believe he was actually feeding Karl Rove and the Bush administration talking points 25 years ago.
Oh, God.
A source who was present during several meetings provided Luntz's slides to the Grayzone. I love that. Participants were informed that the presentations and data contained in the slides were strictly confidential. Of course. God forbid that any of this actually got out to the public. This is not helpful, Luntz stated in response to an email from the Grayzone requesting his comment on the private meetings. He just had his dirty laundry aired out, and all he could say is, "This is not helpful." Not helpful to whom, Frankie boy? The Luntz-tested presentations on the war in Gaza urge politicians to avoid trumpeting America's supposedly shared democratic values with Israel and instead focus on deploying the language of war with Hamas. According to this framing, they must deploy incendiary language painting Hamas as a quote-unquote brutal and savage organization of hate, which has raped women, unquote-unquote, while insisting Israel is engaged in a quote-unquote war for humanity, while they murder thousands of children. So this is the summary page and the things that they should all think and commonly be spewing and the common talking points they should spread across all of their media. This is why you hear on all the Republicans that all end up on the same page. This is one of the guys that puts out the talking points that they all get disseminated. It gets disseminated to all of them. So you have to use this language. We're holding Hamas accountable and crimes against humanity. And you've heard politicians, this is our 9/11 and brutal, savage, and inhumane on October 7th. All of these talking points and all of this specific focus grouped tested language. All right. How did they find this out? And we're going to find out exactly how. On his personal website, Scumbag Luntz markets himself as one of the most honored communications professionals in America today.
Of course he is.
Honored by whom? He has earned a small fortune crafting talking points for Republican Party heavyweights and scandal-stained corporate clients like Enron, the energy company, of course, which famously collapsed after engineering California's energy crisis. Do you remember how they did that? They tried surge pricing on energy.
Vaguely. Okay.
Well, first
that's a bad idea.
They made all kinds of deals, and they said, well, if it's not being used here, we can divert the energy from here to here. And it was a huge problem. There were brownouts all over California. I very distinctly remember this. But following the financial crash of 2008-09, Luntz again advised the GOP on shielding the party's big business donors from scrutiny. At around the same time, he furnished the RGA, the Republican Governors Association, with advice on undermining Occupy Wall Street, the movement demanding accountability for the banking industry's malfeasance. So this guy is basically, okay, you ever seen the movie Thank You for Smoking with Aaron Eckhart? Where he plays like the PR spin. Oh, it's so good. He plays a PR spinmeister who works for the tobacco industry. And William H. Macy, it's a star-studded cast, and he basically
I've heard of it.
He basically plays Frank Luntz. He's the PR spinmeister that helps the worst people in America spew their bullshit and spin their bullshit and lie to people about what they do.
Gotcha.
right? The celebrity GOP pollster has moonlighted as a consultant for the Israel lobby, producing a global language dictionary for the now defunct Israel Project in the aftermath of the brutal 2008-09 attack on Gaza known as Operation Cast Lead. In his propaganda handbook, Luntz counseled leaders who are on the front lines of fighting the media war for Israel to shy from debates related to the illegal occupation of Palestine. He tells people to avoid talking about borders in terms of pre or post 1967 because it only serves to remind Americans of Israel's military history, particularly on the left. This does you harm.
It started on October 7th. It for sure started October 7th. Don't believe your lying eyes.
The thing that makes me angriest about all of this is how effective it is and how fucking good he really is at all of this, at convincing people and propagandizing people because of what he does. He literally puts people in a room and focus groups them. Look at him standing among all those child murderers.
Yep.
Hope you're proud, Frankie. Fucker. Luntz's Gaza war presentation puts his poll-tested tactics back in the Israel lobby's hands, urging pro-Israel public figures to stay on the attack with incendiary language and shocking allegations against their enemies. Where have we seen this playbook? Oh, right. They followed it. In one focus group, Luntz asked participants to state which alleged act by Hamas on October 7th bothers you more. After being presented with a laundry list of alleged atrocities, a majority declared that they were most upset by the claim that Hamas raped civilians, 19% more than those who expressed outrage that Hamas supposedly exterminated civilians. Literally, they're focus grouping the word that you're using to describe how people are being killed. What bothers you more? Can you imagine sitting in a room and having a pollster ask you for $100 what bothers you more? Kidnapped or raped? Exterminated or massacred? Like, I want to choke this motherfucker. Data like this apparently influenced, allegedly, lyrically. I'll assassinate him lyrically, as Jesse likes to say. All right. Data like this apparently influenced the Israeli government to launch an obsessive but still unsuccessful campaign to prove that Hamas carried out a sexual assault on a systemic basis on October 7th. Except if you Google it, that's what it looks like still to this day. It was successful in some ways in that they've effectively propagandized the web in a lot of places. Initiated at Israel's United Nations mission in December 2023 with speeches by neoliberal tech oligarch Sheryl Sandberg and former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who's also, by the way, been a recipient of hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations and speaking fees from Israel lobby organizations, but pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Tel Aviv's propaganda blitz has yet to produce a single self-identified victim of sexual assault by Hamas. Let me repeat that line because that seems like it might be vaguely important. Tel Aviv's propaganda blitz has yet to produce a single self-identified victim of sexual assault by Hamas. A March 5th report by UN Special Representative on Sexual Violence, Pramila Patten, did not contain one direct testimony of sexual assault on October 7th. What's more is that Patten's team said they found no digital evidence specifically depicting acts of sexual violence. How could that possibly be? How could that possibly be?
I wonder.
Because they made it all up. Just like the New York Times reporters. To further the demonization of Palestinians, the Luntz-crafted slides advise that Israel's best response is the brainwashed children of Hamas spewing hatred towards Jews, even more than condemning Israelis, with words they don't know the meaning of and can't even pronounce. So basically the most effective thing you can show is Palestinians screaming at Israeli citizens with their arms in the air in Arabic. That's what he's effectively saying. Stereotyping and racism up the fucking wazoo. The portrayal of the youth of Gaza as ignorant tools of Hamas is clearly intended to deflect from Israel's industrial-scale slaughter of some 15,000 children in the Gaza Strip since October 7th, as well as the wounding, orphaning, and starving of countless more in the besieged territory. Right? This is one of the ways that, again, this was Frank Luntz's thing in his slideshow. Brainwashed children of Hamas spewing hate towards Jews, not Israelis, but Jews, even more than condemning Israelis, with words they don't know the meaning of and cannot even pronounce. Make their arguments stick. Luntz recommends pro-Israel forces avoid the exterminationist language favored by Israeli officials who have called for example, to erase the population of Gaza, quote unquote, and to instead advocate for an efficient, effective approach to eliminating Hamas. Dude, you're whitewashing mass murder. You motherfucker. At the same time, veteran pollster acknowledges that Republican voters prefer phrases which imply maximalist violence like eradicate and obliterate, while sanitized terms like neutralize appeal more to Democrats. God, I hate this guy as much as I hate Mitch McConnell. He's fed Mitch McConnell with talking points for 25 years. Republican presidential candidates Nikki Haley and Donald Trump have showcased similar focus grouped rhetoric with their calls to finish them and finish the problem in Gaza. So they literally say words to use versus words to lose, and how effective they were at bothering the percentage of the focus group that they were said to.
Yep.
It will end the threat that Hamas poses to both Israeli and Palestinian lives. Except they don't. How about ending the threat that Israel poses to Israeli and Palestinian lives? Specifically Palestinian lives. Israel can but don't say that Israel can locate and return 100 Israeli hostages to safety, because if they can, that means they can also locate all of Hamas, can't they? And they're not.
Yep.
They shouldn't say crush or erase, but they should say to the Republican base, eradicate and obliterate, and to the Democratic base, neutralize and dismantle. And you're literally hearing politicians on both sides of the aisle use this shit because they're all fucking Zionists. In past Israel lobby seminars, Luntz has urged pro-Israel forces to divert from arguments about Israel's military occupation of Palestinian territory by deploying banal slogans like Israelis have a right to defend themselves, not within their own borders from a group of people they are occupying. Absolutely not. You do not. This is about Israelis, Luntz crafted slide declares, not about territory. Right, of course, make it about the people and not make it about the land, because, well, they stole the land. So, or somebody stole the land and they acted like it was gifted to them. Yeah. If I steal somebody's watch and then give it to you, you are in possession of a stolen watch, and that person whose watch it is, if he sees his watch on your wrist, he's going to have a problem with that. Yeah. It's literally that fucking simple. According to Scumbag's research, pro-Israel politicians should avoid references to Israel entirely and instead discuss Israelis when setting the context for a debate over the war in Gaza. Except that Israelis, 80%, are behind what's happening in Gaza. Full-throatedly. The recommended tweak...
Full-throatedly, in fact.
The recommended tweak hints at the PR crisis Israel lobby forces have encountered since Israel's military invaded and besieged Gaza, leaving most of its residents homeless, placing its entire public health and sanitation system out of service, and exterminating over 2% of the entire population, according to conservative death toll estimates. And I was going to bring an article in tonight from Ralph Nader that Vanessa Beeley and Sam Husseini had shared, that they're estimating the death tolls to be 200,000 plus, which would be like 20% of the overall population, or at least 10. One slide demonstrates that only a small sliver of those polled by Luntz buy into the Israeli government's mantra that Hamas is ISIS. The same visual aid counsels pro-Israel officials to shy away from the phrases genuine accuracy and hard evidence, and allude more generally to the truth when discussing Israel's actions. You know why? Because genuine accuracy and hard evidence are not on Israel's side. Words to lose still exists as a country. They're committed to global peace while they're murdering thousands of people within months. Okay? They're following international law while they're being brought up on charges at the ICJ. Right? So these are the words that they should use, that people seem to feel good about Israel and what Israel and how Israel's murdering people. It's
manufacturing consent.
Luntz acknowledges Israel's mounting PR problems in a slide identifying the most powerful tactics employed by Palestine solidarity activists. Israelis attacking Israel is the second most potential weapon against Israel. The visual display reads beside a photo of a protest by Jewish Voices for Peace, a U.S.-based Jewish organization dedicated to ending Israel's occupation of Palestine, which, by the way, Israel has declared them a hate group. They've declared them Hamas. Okay? Yep. What Luntz says is that the most potent tactic in mobilizing opposition to Israel's assault on Gaza is the visual destruction of Gaza and the human toll. This slide inadvertently acknowledges the cruelty of Israel's bombardment of Gaza, displaying a bombed-out apartment building with clearly anguished women and children fleeing in the foreground. But Luntz assures his audience that it looks like a genocide, even though the damage has nothing to do with the definition.
This is what Biden tried to fucking say recently too, where it's like, oh, a genocide, maybe not, but maybe not. Like,
what is a genocide?
Like, that's your
exactly?
Opinion.
Yeah, how do you define the definition? It's very much one of those. But yes, this is crazy. So this, to me, now they had already murdered 75 or close to 100 journalists when they got this PR slide deck. This was in November, I believe it was delivered. But I still think that this was further reinforcement to the Israeli government that they need to start murdering the people that are showing the images of the destruction, unfortunately. You know, stop murdering journalists, Israel. It's the stupidest thing in the world. Like, I can't believe I even have to say that. But of course, you know, according to this logic, the American public can become more tolerant of copiously documented crimes against humanity if they're simply told not to believe their lying eyes. So here you go. The most potent is the visual destruction of Gaza and the human toll. Basically, what we've been seeing in our Twitter feeds every day for 5.5 months. Okay? And that it looks like a genocide, even though the damage has nothing to do with the definition. No, it is a fucking genocide. Shut up, Frank. God bless this man, Max. He's a good man. Go subscribe to the Grayzone. Support independent media. IndieMediaAwards.substack.com. You can find all their links to all these people. Yeah, here's the Vanessa article that I was going to show, but chose not to in the end. But this is where stop the worsening undercount of Palestinian casualties in Gaza. And again, that was written by Biden advocate Ralph Nader. I can't believe I just used those words. Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. All right, so One more time, I'll put up the donate links. Thank you so much, everyone. We are going to do boats in about 20 minutes or so. Let me just
Not
see.
Even we'll be back soon.
Let me see if there is
leak and
bong hit.
Intermission.
A little break. Yeah, if you don't let Israel murder journalists, you're literally Hitler. Literal and conservatives, probably. That's right. The SMO. Everybody check out Snow Hembo's going to start doing gaming streams again. He had a little choppy problem with, and we're working out the tech stuff so that it'll work out better next time. Yeah, you smoking broccoli?
In the chat.
Links are going out to boats.
You can head there.
Yep. There you go. Let me put that up there. Check that out for Reefer After Dark. All right. All right.
Yep.
I think that's about it. I had a couple of things to talk about, but I didn't even do a calendar. Definitely check out indienewsnetwork.substack.com. Go check out. One of the other things I wanted to point out was I bought a URL. You can see somewhere. I bought a domain for Indie Media Today. So now indiemediatoday.com is the home of my Substack. You can see there was a stream alert for tonight. You also can see the INN this week. Still publishing one of these every Friday over at INN Stack. Our donate link and our donate button is there as well. And all of the different streams. I did these the last couple of weeks. I've done some streams with terminated Amazon workers, so check those out if you haven't already. Tara was in the spaces last week. Wednesday, we've got episode 100 for INN News coming up. Episode 99 was their 2-year anniversary. Yep, 2-year anniversary was last Wednesday. Thank God Daniel Hale is out. So shout out, we can take out the hashtag free Daniel Hale from all of our stuff. Thank goodness he's out and he's already been writing. So check that out. Misty's appearances. We'll still cover any of the appearances she had. She was on RBN on Saturday. We also, after our whole back and forth with Chris Smalls, were blocked by him on Twitter. And we have this is the full 2.5-hour stream that I did with the Amazon workers from JFK 8. So get all caught up. We were doing stuff. Now, also, while I was on break at Indie Media Today, I was writing leading up to the Julian Assange thing. Every day, I was publishing a free Julian Assange post showcasing something about the case, something about what Julian did, something about... that's weird. Okay, so some of these are video posts and some of these are not. And you can actually watch the videos. And we shouted out Convo Couch and Hardlands Media and all the great creators, Richard Medhurst, for example, and Caitlin Johnstone. We read a Caitlin piece. So, and the Belmarsh Tribunals and all the different angles. There are so many different components and facets to this after all these years that literally I was creating a post every day and we were trying to raise awareness, put it on Twitter. And this guy over here, he was doing AI Julian pictures every day for about 32 days or so and getting them up there to try to keep awareness out there. So, free Julian Assange. We need him out. We need him out now. Journalism is not a crime, as we say here down in our ticker. And again, thank you for donating. We are trying to raise $1,000, at least at first, to get Jesse a computer. That'll be our first thing that we're doing, our first fundraising effort. So if you can donate to any of those places, we really appreciate it. We know times are tough, and we know there's a lot of channels and a lot of choices, and we certainly appreciate you spending the time and supporting independent media here. So we're going to go to boats soon. Thank you. I love you all. This has been fun. I always kind of I'm like hesitant and I don't know if I want to do this. And then we start doing it and I'm like, yeah, I guess I did want to do this. So links in the chat. We're going to be live over at Rumble, Rockfin, both of them, same stuff, but we're just going to do a new stream for boats. That way the stories can be preserved and we don't have to worry about getting copyright struck and having our articles taken down. So thank you so much. We'll see you over on boats. I love you all.
Okay. Keep listening to my boats at the telly, fam. Back in a bit.
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say?